Hello and welcome to UFC Fight Night 168 Felder vs. Hooker predictions. Last week was Blackowitz vs. Anderson. We did alright, went 7-6. Could have easily been 9-4 without those two DQs. Moving on to this week, first fight of the night, we have Shayna Dobson versus Priscilla Cachoeira. I'm going with Priscilla Cachoeira here at plus 130 as the dog. She's lost to Shevchenko and Molly McCann, but that's way better competition than anything Shayna Dobson has faced yet. So I think Cachoeira as the dog here is the safe bet. Next, we have Mchale Pitolo versus Takashi Sato. Again, I'm going with the person who's faced better competition, which is Takashi Sato. He's faced Ben Saunders and Bilal Muhammad. He actually beat Ben Saunders. Mchale Pitolo is 0-1 in the UFC, lost to Kalin, who I don't think is all that special. So I think Takashi Sato minus 120 is a safe pick here also. Next up, Loma Pume versus Angela Hill. Angela Hill stepping in last minute, and I think she's going to get the win here. She's going to ground and pound this girl. Loma Pume is a kickboxing champion, but she's only 5'1". She's tiny in there, and she had a close fight against Alexandra Albu, who in my opinion isn't even UFC caliber. So I'm definitely riding with Angela Hill minus 210. Next fight, we have Cachoeira France versus Tyson Nam. I think Cachoeira France gets the knockout in this one, honestly. Tyson Nam's 36 years old, 0-1 in the UFC to Sergio Pettis. Cachoeira France 3-1 in the UFC, all against good competition. He's also coming out of City Kickboxing with Adesanya and Volkanovski. You can't bet against that gym. Also, Dan Hooker on the card tonight, coming out of that gym. And I don't think you can bet against them right now. Next up, Kalin Potter versus Keenan Song. I think Keenan Song gets a decision here, 3-1 in the UFC. Good wins over Derek Krantz and Hector Aldana. Kalin Potter 1-1, beat Mchale Pitolo and lost to Jalen Turner, who Jalen Turner I don't think in my mind is all that special. Maybe not even UFC caliber. 1-2 in the UFC, Jalen Turner is. He's also fighting on this card a few fights from now. But Keenan Song's a good striker, and at minus 185, I actually think Keenan Song's a good parlay piece. Now we have Jake Mathews versus Emil Meek. I'm going with Jake Mathews. 8-4 in the UFC, losses to good competition, but Emil Meek hasn't fought in 2 years. I don't think Emil Meek's at Jake Mathews' level. Jake Mathews good all around, and at minus 210, also a good parlay piece. Then we move on to Jalen Turner versus Joshua Kaliba. I was just hating on Jalen Turner, but I'm picking him in this fight. He's just got so much size on this Kaliba. It's also Kaliba's first fight in the UFC. Apparently he's a good featherweight out of New Zealand or Australia. I forget which one, but over there. And I don't think he's ready for Jalen Turner's size. Jalen Turner's already a big lightweight, and to step in at lightweight after fighting at featherweight to a guy who's that big, I think that's a tough task. Now moving on to the main card. First fight, we have Zubaira Tukhugov versus Kevin Aguilar. Zubaira Tukhugov, a Dagestani, but he's one of the ones who I am not impressed with. I picked him last fight, and I thought he was garbage. Kevin Aguilar is a good fighter, and at dog money, I'm going with Aguilar definitely in this fight. I was so unimpressed with Tukhugov, and I don't think I can ever pick him again unless he comes up with a crazy good win here, but I don't see it. His wrestling isn't even that great for a Dagestani, and his striking's not there at all either. But now, on the other hand, moving on, Magomed Mustafaev versus Brad Riddell. Magomed Mustafaev is a Dagestani that I am impressed with. He's a beast. He's faced Kevin Lee. He's got 2 other wins in the UFC by knockout. Brad Riddell came off his first fight in the UFC against Jamie Malarkey. He's a City Kickboxing guy, though, and I said I'm not going to bet against that gym. But the one thing that will make me bet against that gym is a beast Dagestani who can wrestle and box. So I'm going with Mustafaev in this one for sure. After that, we have the worst fight of the night, Marcos de Lima versus Ben Sassoli. I actually saw Ben Sassoli fight in Boston against Greg Hardy, and that was the worst fight of the night there, too. He was lackluster in every performance all the way around, so he couldn't box. He just sat there the whole time. Marcos de Lima is a jacked big heavyweight, so I'm just going to go with him to try to land a power shot and maybe knock Ben Sassoli out here. Now we move on to Karolina Kovacevic versus Anan Yan. I'm going with the Chinese girl here to beat Kovacevic. Kovacevic just faced everybody, but it seems like she's just losing to everybody now. Anyone they put her in there against, it seems like she's losing. I don't know if she really has the spirit anymore to get the win here, and I think Anan Yan is on the come up here, 11-1, so I'm picking her. Now moving on to the co-main event, a good fight, Jimmy Crute versus Mchale, Alexi Juke. I was really impressed with Jimmy Crute when he was first coming in, but then that loss to Misha Shurkinov really set me back. He made some stupid choices on going back to the ground there with a legend right there. And Alexi Juke just coming off a loss to Ovince St. Preux, which he gassed out in about 2 minutes in that fight. So I don't really know which way to go here. It's a pretty even fight, but I guess I always got to go with the guy with the cardio, and I guess that's Jimmy Crute. He's also a hometown guy there, so I'm going to go with Crute there. Last but not least, we move on to the main event, and I think the most even fight of the night, Paul Felder versus Dan Hooker. Starting to get a little bit of bad blood between these two, which is interesting because I think they're both nice guys, and I don't think they both really do that trash talking well. But nonetheless, it makes it more interesting to me. I think it's a real even fight here, but I had to think about this one for a while, and I think the one with the more knockout power and maybe the chance to land a shot in kickboxing range is Dan Hooker. But Paul Felder's made it tough for people to land at kickboxing. He's proved he's a great kickboxing against Barboza, and Barboza finished Hooker, so it's tough to really pick Hooker, but I'm going with him on home soil, minus 150. I'm going with Hooker. I have a feeling he's going to win. Felder, I think, has made his little last championship run, and I think it ends here. I think he's halfway out the door already. I love him. He's a good fighter. He always puts in a good fight, but I'm picking Dan Hooker. And thanks, everyone, for listening. It's my UFC Fight Night 168 predictions. And we'll be back next week with some more winners.